Okay, let's review Remaining Light by Angelique Kidjo, released in 2018. But before we get to the track breakdown, I'm going to go through a little bit of history here, because I guess that most of you probably haven't heard of this woman, this African diva. Angelique Kidjo, born July the 14th, 1960, from a Beninese American mix. She's a singer, songwriter, actress and political activist, noted for her diverse musical influences and creative music videos, as well as being an ambassador for the World Health Organization. Her work with that world group has had some tremendous impact on women across the continent of Africa, with her work helping women become aware and educated to basically control the amount of children that they are bearing. Okay, but this is a music video, album appreciation, but I just thought I'd chip in so you get some sense of what we're talking about here. Her musical influences, well, they include a vast array of influences: Afro-pop, Caribbean zouk, Congolese rumba, jazz, gospel and Latin styles. She's recorded George Gershwin's Summertime, Ravel's Bolero, Hendrix's Voodoo Child and the Rolling Stones' Give Me Shelter. She's collaborated with a host of artists including Dave Matthews, Peter Gabriel, Bono, Carlos Santana, John Lennon and the legendary Herbie Hancock. A little snapshot of her life. She was born in Ouidah in Benin in 1960. By the time she was 6, she was performing with her mother's theatre troupe, and she started singing in her school band Les Sphinx as a teenager, with her adaptation of Miriam Makeba's Les Trois Zè. She was heard on national radio. And then she recorded the album Pretty with the Cameroonian producer Ekambi Brilliant and toured all over West Africa. But political conflicts in Benin led her to relocate to Paris in 1983. She was 23 years old then. In 85, she became the front singer of a Jasper Van Hoff Euro-African jazz rock band called Pili Pili. And by the end of the 80s, she had become one of the most popular live performers in Paris. And then she recorded a solo album called Paracao. Paris by Island Records founder Chris Blackwell, who signed her in 1991. She recorded 4 albums for Ireland: Logoso, Ayi, FIFA and Orimi. In 2000, she switched to Columbia in New York City. 6 further albums followed before she started recording her version of the Talking Heads album Remaining Light, as mentioned before, originally recorded in 1980. Angelique Kidjo, she injects Remaining Light with her euphoric singing, add an explosive lot of percussions and horn orchestrations, and she varies the language choice for her vocals. People playing on the record include Ezra Connick of Vampire Empire, Blood Orange, Tony Allen, and Tipalas horns, and Angelique's longtime guitarist Dominic James, plus Magata Soul, who's a percussionist first seen on the Black Panther film score. Also a contributor is visual artist Kerry James Marshall, who created the artwork. So, this Angelique Kidjo with the Talking Heads masterpiece, well, it still sounds as avant-garde 40 years after its release. Its originality and some weirdness that's so intimidating that most people would have deemed it uncoverable. But you need to have a reminder of Angelique Kidjo's pedigree. And I'm now going to go through the album track by track as usual. It has to be said that I think it's an audacious but absolutely a fantastic interpretation by this woman from Benin. who's now, let's say it, like a good wine, growing old gracefully. So to track one, Born Under Punches. The basic rhythm is similar to the original, but it's more avant-garde. The lead vocals more dominating, and the backing vocals intricately mixed to smother a complex web of rhythmic arrangements of jazz and frantic percussion with a wealth of synthesized odd noises. It's aggressive, and the harmonies are hypnotic, futuristic, funk-like. Lyrically, the song refers to the alienation of work, the 45-year-old marathon of a steady job and its security, oppression by institution that gives false promises, its sales pitch giving protection from life's unexpected problems. And here's an excerpt. Don't you miss it? Don't you miss it? Some your people just about missed it. Last time to take plans. I'm a tumbler. I'm a government man. Never seen anything like that before. Falling bodies tumble across the floor. I'm a tumbler. When you get to where you want to be, thank you, thank you. When you get to where you want to be, don't even mention it. Second song then is Cross-Eyed and Painless. It starts off with some effortless style percussion, and then a nice horn riff, plus a cacophony of African drums beats that take over with a pungent aroma of harmonies. Kidjo's powerful vocals synchronise with the horns. It's very strident, it's very African. Tinges of Fela Kuti, the horns dominate with Kidjo's punchy vocals. Then there's the tenor-like vocal delivery that varies in contrast with Burns' upper range. It's got a big band sound on top of a crazy African percussion, a sound to be held on to. There's some beautiful lead guitar, restrained, it has to be said, but slippery like an eel. And the frantic African dance with avant-garde jazz horns just put you absolutely at the forefront of it. Lyrically, it focuses on issues of facts and trust and feelings of anxiety over whether the facts are reliant, never more poignant than they are at the moment. Cross-eyed, suggesting two interpretations, and painless, a desire to attain from information. Here's an excerpt. I'm ready to leave. I push the fact in front of me. Facts lost. Facts are never what they seem to be. Oh, nothing there. No information left of any kind. Oh, lifting my head, looking for danger signs. The great curve then. Kidjo starts with a cry, a wail, and then frenetic percussion linked with the chorus, and then we're moved into the lead vocals, overdubbed for sure, but there's some absolutely frantic lead vocals from Angelique, and it's some nice finger-picking guitar style also heard. More than a bit nodding to Graceland, of course, and they're to the fore this time. The distorted guitar phase joins with the horny type riffs and a seductive chorus. The whole sound is futuristic funk with slick bass runs. The African message runs through the vocal delivery. I like the symbolic whirl movement akin to a gyrating female dancer, very tribe-like. And I read on the internet that this represented the three facets of Earth, Mother and creation that are particularly symbolic in African societies. The consensus lyrically is that the song's about women, probably African women, and the power they have through childbirth. References to the world moves on the movement of their hips, tribal dance. And here's a short extract. The world moves on a woman's hips. The world moves and it swirls and bops. The world moves on a woman's hips. The world moves and it bounces and hops. Yeah, well, track 4, Once in a Lifetime. Who could ever forget it? It explodes into your senses with succulent rhythms and a spacey horns, lots of wild trumpet playing, echoes of famed African musician Kuti again, crossed with Hugh Masakela and a full throttle percussion. Wow, this is avant-garde jazz African style, and Kidjo whips up a storm. Lyrically, people are generally passive and they react to happenings rather than create happenings. And challenging your assumptions, your beliefs, if you are brave, is the message here. An excerpt, and you may find yourself living in a shotgun shack, and you may find yourself in another part of the world, and you may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile, and you may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife, and you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here? Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down, letting the days go by, water flowing underground, into the blue again, after the money's gone, once in a lifetime, water flowing underground. And listening to me, I'm sure you're probably recalling David's lyric on this song. Go and have a taste of Angelique. It's on YouTube. Into the second side now, Houses of Motion. The throttle reduced a little, but it's still funky jazz with rasping harmonies on top of a school of horns, synthesized in an odd style, and the euphoric vocals. Really tremendous variety of vocal delivery by Kidjo on this album. Lyrically, well, the language is very tribal here. I think one comment I read was that it's about existing for the sake of not dying, forgetting lost dreams and sacrificing happiness for short-term security, an empty lifestyle. And here's a little extract to get those juices flowing in your thoughts. I'm walking a line. I'm thinking about empty motion. I'm walking a line, just barely enough to be living. Get out of the way. No time to begin. This isn't the time, so nothing was done. Not talking about, not many at all. I'm turning around, no trouble at all. You notice there's nothing around you. I'm walking a line, divide and dissolve. So to track 6, and I'm just managing to get everything organised. Seen and not seen. Angelique delivered this as spoken word at the intro, in English, of course. Soft horns accompany before the spiralling vocals are launched, very tribal, interspersed with more spoken word. The message is about the false perception in the world, lots of echo, sonic resonance connecting with tribal drumming. The lyric describes changing one's face for the changing world, like different chapters to one's life, or maybe one's career, a la David Bowie, or as could be said, Angelique Kidjo. It may just be a way to hide oneself from the masses, of course, with disguises. And let's have a little extract from track 6. Or maybe they imagined that their personality would be forced to change to fit the new appearance. This is why first impressions are often correct. Although some people might have made mistakes, they may have arrived at an appearance that bears no relationship to them. They may have picked an ideal appearance based on some childish whim or momentary impulse. Some may have gotten halfway there and then changed their minds. He wonders if he too might have made a similar mistake. Penultimate track then is Listening Wind. This is 6 minutes. Starts with the natural wind sound, and then Angelique's solo vocals drift in to an African steel band calypso style, but very chant-like. Backing vocals develop a skipping beat that's delightful. Kidjo's vocals are back in the mix slightly. This is a radical interpretation of original hypnotic trance-like tribal dance music. It's magnificent, ending in a drug-induced sensation. Lyrically, I think it's telling the story of the impact on the US and developed countries and how they affect African environments, and how their own culture, the African culture, shrinks to the point where only simple aspects of the environment remain, the wind and the dust. Okay, so we reach the finale, track 8, the Overload. There's a heavy guitar riff, and it's back in the mix, but you can hear it. The solo vocal accompaniment to it. It's a weird sound mix, sort of African jazz fusion with avant-garde feel, with a very tribal feel. And then it switches to soothing chords with flute leads to a subdued outro. It's a very, very odd piece of work. The mood in the lyric is about when the body shuts down after endless misuse or abuse, and there's an uncertainty about the future. And let's have a brief extract. A terrible signal, too weak to even recognise, a gentle collapsing, the removal of the insides. I'm touched by your pleas, I value these moments. We're older than we realise in someone else's eyes. So a little bit of a summary here. I think 2 points that I'd like to make. If you are familiar with the original and you liked the original, I think the stepping stone to this is not going to present too many problems. Although it is a radical interpretation, there's enough familiarity to make you ooze as you listen to it. The second point is, if you are new to this album, then it will open up a very bizarre interpretation of this vague sound that you heard of in the 80s by a band called Talking Heads. It might throw you somewhat. Thirdly, if you are already a fan of Angelique Kidjo and world music, particularly female African acts, I think this is going to take to you like a duck to water. You know, she is a tremendous presence, and I did saw a live concert of this album with her band, and it was mesmerizing, and I think it's still available on the internet, so try and check that out. She has made some glorious albums over the years, and was one of the first African artists that I really got into, along with Baba Mal and Sally Kita and Youssou N'Dour. But she has jumped ahead of them now. I think the fact that she's multilingual helps, and that she has also had this ambassadorial role for the World Health Organization, and has done so much to help in the area of female reproductive care, bringing a contraception to a vast quantity of women in Africa, so that they don't have to put up with huge amounts of time in pregnancy to men who just don't give a damn. So overall, I think this is an excellent piece of work, and I thoroughly recommend it. It was released in 2018. It's called Remain in Light, and it's by the gorgeous Angelique Kidjo.